Tanjiro as the embodiment of kindness even in battle is a very unique and refreshing take on the shonen hero trope that is worth looking at in detail. I've really been looking forward to talking about Tanjiro for a while now. Now, even though I criticized the character writing overall in my video on why you should watch Demon Slayer, Tanjiro is not only an exception to this, but also easily one of the most interesting ones in the show.
ふざけるのも大概にしろ！恐怖でがんじがらめに縛り付けることを家族の絆とは言わない！
In a weird way, he is your very stereotypical shonen hero on the one side, and yet something entirely new and different on the other. And I find his personality and philosophy extremely fascinating. Hi, my name is Manu. The only demons I've ever slain are the ridiculously large mosquitoes here in Japan. Like, I absolutely hate killing any living thing, but for mosquitoes, I can go full berserk mode. Those are the true demons. Where was I? Oh yeah, I've been absolutely obsessed with the beauty of the Kimetsu no Yaiba anime, and so I just had no other choice but analyze its main character and found some surprisingly deep writing behind it. What do I mean by that? Well, on the surface, Tanjiro Kamado fits the typical shonen hero mold pretty nicely. He's a young boy, check, who goes on an adventure fighting bad guys, check, trying to get stronger to reach his goal, check, and has a hidden power he didn't know about all along. Check. Now, Tanjiro's desire, his big goal, is super clearly defined and tells us a lot about his character. After his entire family is murdered except for his sister, who is turned into a demon, Tanjiro doesn't seek revenge, but simply wants to save the last remaining member of his family and turn Nezuko back into a human. And this perfectly sets up the most important character trait overall, his empathy. And I found this super interesting because Tanjiro is kind, or at least empathetic, even to the demons that he encounters.
優しい目
He is the only one that is willing to see them as people, but at the same time, he still wants to turn Nezuko back. At first, I found that a little bit paradoxical, but when you actually think about it, it speaks of a certain maturity. He's able to see them as people who were turned into demons, but he still dislikes the condition of being a demon for obvious reasons. I mean, they eat people and shit. Now, usually for most heroes, beneath that superficial desire that they have, there is actually a subconscious need that a character has. Some sort of lie that they believe about the world that needs to be challenged. Now, at the beginning of the series, it would be very easy to say that Tanjiro's need is to lose his naivety. You simply can't emphasize with everyone, especially not if they're trying to kill you. And so to me at the start, it seemed like his kindness and hate for violence might be a real hindrance in his fight against the most evil and strongest beings in this world. However, I got proven wrong relatively quickly. Tanjiro proves to us very early on that he can do both, be kind and caring, and do what is necessary at the same time. He has a sort of eerie but kind ruthlessness in him that result in scenes like this.
この方寒天の銃
優しい雨に打たれているような感覚少しも痛くない
The point that I found really astonishing, to be honest, is that Tanjiro doesn't really have a need to change. He is an incredibly kind and caring person with a strong will to fight and get stronger to protect his sister and those who need protection, and he simply stays that person. And as a result, Tanjiro has close to no character development in the story. Now, just like me, you probably know a few people who proclaim that if a character has no character development, it's a bad character. Dun dun dun! Which is just not true. A character is bad if he is inconsistent or simply straight out boring. The reason Tanjiro stands out as a shonen hero with this, however, is that most shonen protagonists have a positive character arc. They start with a relatively obvious fall to their character that they resolve at the end of the story.
では早速この人物にご登壇願おう。これより7代目火影に就任する男、渦巻ナルト。
And so, since it's a positive character arc, they become better people as the story goes on. Heck, even a all-powerful character like Saitama in One Punch Man needs to learn that true happiness doesn't come from fighting stronger and stronger opponents, but from the relationships that he has built. A very rare but really interesting variation on this is a negative character arc, where the hero becomes disillusioned with the world and becomes a worse person, like for example Gon in Hunter x Hunter.
それに嘘だったらそれはそれで気が楽だし
気楽
容赦しなくていいから遠慮なく倒せる
Tanjiro, on the other hand, has a flat character arc. Yep, that is a real thing. He already has accepted the world as it is and has chosen his path of how to approach it. In his case, kindness. Now, flat arcs are very, very rare in shonen for a reason, because the audience expects the hero to grow and change as they face harder and harder obstacles. And so as a result, flat character arcs can be really confusing or frustrating to people. A really great example of this, I think, is Ichigo from Bleach. He also barely changes throughout the story and only gets stronger physically. The problem is that Bleach is way too long for such a hero, and so it starts becoming dull at some point, which was ultimately its downfall. Demon Slayer, on the other hand, is relatively short. The manga is already over, and there might be even less than 100 anime episodes at the end of it, which allows us to focus on the world and people around Tanjiro without it getting all too boring. That being said, flat arcs really depend on your taste, and if you prefer seeing someone grow as a person, then that's fair. I actually totally get that. But that doesn't automatically make it bad writing in Tanjiro's case. His only flaw is his physical weakness that he has to continually fight and struggle against.
お前の家族は殺されていない。奪うか奪われるかの時に主導権を握れない弱者が妹を治す。仇を見つける。𝚲𝚙𝚑𝚘𝚡
He hates how useless he is and how he cannot help the people he wants to help. Now, one big criticism I personally have here is that I feel like the characters around Tanjiro could use way stronger character arcs. I genuinely think that Tanjiro as a pillar of goodness would have actually been some really great writing if the people around him had changed a lot more in his presence than they do in the end. Shinobu and Kanao are the closest that we get, but it could have been a lot more impactful, I personally think. The people who change the most are the demons, and that only after being defeated, which I find a bit of a shame. So what is Tanjiro all about then? Well, as most heroes, he is the foil and exact opposite to the villain of the story, Muzan, in every aspect.
私に何か用ですか? 随分慌てていらっしゃるようです。
Everything from the motivations to the ideals and values that they represent. While Muzan only cares about himself and sees everyone around him, demons and humans alike, as tools to use for his pleasure and desires, Tanjiro's central defining trait is his altruism. His greatest priority will always be the lives of the people around him. And so even though he's fighting against literal demons, he sees every last of them as people. And so while he doesn't necessarily forgive and still condemns them for their actions, in the end he acknowledges that all of them were human beings at one point and tries his best to respect their feelings. Even though he has to take their lives in order to protect his own or that of his friends, he tries to give them the kindness that they were denied during their lifetime, giving them a bit of redemption and a final chance to reflect on their lives.
あれ兄ちゃんって誰だっけ?
And so the challenge of his entire arc is purely about finding strength and power without throwing away his kindness or his humanity. Instead of changing and becoming a better or worse person, Tanjiro is all about staying the great man he already is. He strongly embodies the ideal of existentialism, which is basically the idea that his life derives meaning and happiness from selflessly giving to the people around him. And that to the point where he even tries to give meaning to everyone that he meets. Now, even though the first season of Demon Slayer was an absolute firework in terms of production for me, as I explained in my previous video, the Mugen Train movie really took me by surprise with its storyline, especially for Tanjiro. The fact that we got to physically enter everyone's deepest desire, and even more interestingly, see everyone's subconsciousness, was an incredibly creative choice in my opinion. I doubt that this was done on purpose, but the visual nature of the anime makes up for a lot of the character writing in my opinion, and so literally visualizing everyone's personality was a really creative and awesome move. Touché. I wonder what my subconsciousness would look like. Mostly coffee, probably, and you gently hitting the subscribe button. Anyways, in Tanjiro's dream, instead of returning back to his family left dead after being massacred, he finds them alive and well instead, well, at first at least.
よしだからやめろって
Tanjiro's desire is very simple, to just live a happy life with his family. After all, he's just a simple charcoal burner and a simple elder brother who became the breadwinner at a young age after the death of his father. And so this dream brings to light all of his trauma, regrets, and guilt that he must have carried with him at all times as he hugs his siblings tightly, apologizing over and over again, even though his dream self doesn't know exactly why he was apologizing and crying. Tanjiro understandably has a pretty severe case of survivor's guilt, as he was the only one who got away unharmed, especially as the oldest brother. It's really the first time since going on his journey where he can pause and reflect on that fact, because he kept himself distracted with his mission to get stronger and at least save Nezuko. But at the same time, it once again shows us that Tanjiro is already mature and prioritizes those around him. Instead of allowing himself to be drawn in by the thing that he wants the most, he's able to let go of the past in order to save the people on board of the train. Hell, he even goes so far as to kill himself in order to wake up, which is pretty radical if I'm being honest. And yet, despite all the pain and regret inside him, when we get to enter Tanjiro's subconsciousness, it still is an endless oasis of love and warmth, with his core shining as bright as the sun, the thing that demons fear the most. Even after all the traumatic events he already had to live through, he still remains unconditionally kind, to the point where you could call him the personification of kindness himself.
これが彼の心の中。なんという
The boy who entered this place was reduced to tears and is healed from his darkness. Exactly the thing I would have liked to see for more characters around him. Tanjiro is the sun that frees people and demons alike from the darkness of their hearts and their eternal pain. And to me, that's what makes him such a unique character in the shonen genre.